Welcome once again to Cooking with Peter. Today we're going to make the granddaddy of all meals. It's steak night. Let's do this. So the first thing you're going to need is a piece of steak. Right here we've got a good old New York strip. It's got a decent amount of fat on it and it's going to cook up real nice. We're going to be pairing this meat with some veggies. We've got some potatoes, mushrooms, and asparagus. You'll also need dried basil, rosemary, and parsley, as well as some butter and a couple sprigs of rosemary. Oh, and an oil with a fairly high smoke point. So the first thing we're going to do is pat our steak dry with some paper towel. This will really help with the browning later on. Next, we're going to liberally season our steak with some salt and some pepper. Make sure you season both sides of your meat. And now we're going to just let that rest for about 30 minutes. It's going to really allow that salt to penetrate the meat. And if you're a slob like me, give your table a quick little wipe down. So next we're going to get started on our potatoes as they take the longest to cook. First, we need to preheat our oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to start by slicing our potatoes into smaller pieces. Since I'm using these small creamer potatoes, I'm just going to slice them in half. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier, you're also going to need some garlic. Okay, let's get to seasoning these potatoes. You're going to need some vegetable oil, pepper, salt, dried rosemary, basil, and parsley, and about 2 to 3 cloves of crushed garlic. Make sure it's nicely mixed and all those ingredients get to know each other real well. Next, we're going to place our potatoes onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. Make sure they are all flush side down, as that will ensure maximum crispiness. Now just pop them into that preheated oven for about 25 to 35 minutes. Now it's time to prep our asparagus. Start by cutting off and discarding the ends, and then cut the remaining asparagus in half. Then toss it into that same bowl you used for your potatoes earlier. After making sure you got all the dirt off your mushrooms, you can toss those into the same bowl as well. Give it a quick little mix with the remaining seasoning that's left inside the bowl. Don't worry, these are going to be cooking in the meat juices a bit later on, so they don't need to be heavily seasoned. Though you can add a little bit more salt if you'd like. Now it's finally time to cook that steak. We're going to start by preheating our skillet over a medium-high heat. You'll know the pan is ready when it starts smoking. We'll start by oiling up our pan with some avocado oil or any other high smoke point oil. Now place your meat into that ripping hot skillet. Make sure it makes full contact with the pan. Now the key is, don't touch your meat. You're going to leave that meat sitting there for about 4 minutes before giving it a flip. Okay, it's been about 4 minutes. Let's flip that meat over. And now you're going to cook it for an additional 3 minutes. Now we're going to cut the heat and add some butter and fresh rosemary to the pan. Time to get to basting. You want to make sure you baste both sides of the steak. This is going to give your steak that buttery taste that you normally only get at the steakhouse. And now we're going to let our steak rest underneath some foil for about 15 minutes. Now we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter back into that same pan you cooked the steak in before. Next, add in your mushrooms and asparagus. By frying your vegetables in the same pan as your meat, you really embed that delicious meaty flavor into them. You're just going to fry them up for about 3 to 4 minutes. It should be enough as the pan is quite hot. Next, cover your pan with a little bit of aluminum foil. This is going to allow the steam to finish cooking up the vegetables. Now, while waiting for our steak to finish resting, let's go check on those potatoes. As you can see, they are golden brown and they look amazing. Now that our steak has had a chance to rest, it's time to start carving up this bad boy. As you can see, it's cooked to a perfect rare to medium rare, just the way I like it. And there you have it, our perfect steak night meal. We've got a perfectly cooked steak, some crispy golden potatoes, and even some veggies so your mom doesn't yell at you. Time to dig in. That's a good steak. Potatoes are beautifully cooked, and the mushrooms and asparagus taste great too. It's a super easy meal to make, doesn't take very much time at all. I highly recommend it. Everything sort of gets made in tandem with one another. It works out really well. The asparagus actually has this great steaky flavor to it, which is really nice. So yeah, definitely try it out, and leave a comment down below if you guys try it and let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next one.